Hi guys! So I thought I would do a video specifically about wig stuff today. Well, hello Mayrin. She likes to hang out on my bed with me, which is what I am. Right now I'm just going with kind of the super basic, like 101 on the kind of stuff that I look for when I look at wigs. Do's and don'ts kind of thing, super basic. If you guys at any point want me to go into a bit more depth, just let me know. But until then, we'll just start with here. The first question you're going to want to ask yourself is if you want to shell out the amount for human hair or synthetic hair. The green wig that I have, that's the bob, is human hair, which meant that it was a lot more expensive. But synthetic hair can look very realistic still and still be pretty useful. The big thing is you have to know the different types. I don't remember the specific names off the top of my head. The biggest thing is that there's some synthetic hair types that can be dyed, but specifically with like fabric dyes or like dyes made specifically for wigs, while a lot of them are also heat safe to an extent. If you order one, keep it in mind, try to look for that. Usually it's around 200 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit that it can take. The big thing is if you're using something to style it, you have to let it cool down first, and some of them you have to wet first. That's more often than not Canacolon that has to be. Not to get super crazy specific, but there are some that are like that. Just make sure you look into it, and if you want to test it because you don't know, test the strands, like the ends, little ends like this, where this buddy is super thick, to the point that I look ridiculous in it sometimes, so I've still actually got to work to thin this puppy out. Now this one is also a nice sort of texture, so that it doesn't look too shiny. If you have one that's too shiny and it's on the lighter end, you can use like baby powder or dry shampoo. Another big one is if you get liquid fabric softener and let it soak in there for about 4 days, and then rinse it out in cold to lukewarm water, then you gotta rinse it pretty thoroughly, but don't wash that one right away. That should soften it a bit so that it doesn't look too ridiculous in like natural lighting. The other thing is if it's a lace front or if it's a just a regular wig with just an average weft attachment. Let me turn this one inside out for you. This one is just a regular one. It does have this so that it has a bit more of a, I wouldn't say a skin top, but it's attached in a way that it looks a bit more natural. So you can kind of see right there. And then it has all of these wefts, and then it has this strap for adjustment. While a lace front has lace in the front, as I've said before, where what happens is each strand of hair is tied to the mesh of the lace, so that when you cut the lace to about the hairline of it and you put it on, it blends into your skin tone, and so it gives the illusion that the hair is actually growing there. The problem with these is making sure you're getting the right color for your lace, because if you get your lace way too dark, you can technically use makeup for it, but it becomes kind of obvious. But too light, you can actually use a fabric dye on, but it's a little bit iffy, so big deal is to make sure that you have an idea where you sit on that lace. There's also full lace, which is also that green wig that I have, where the whole thing is set up in that same manner, where it's all tied to it, so I can part it at any point and it will look realistic. That one doesn't have any adjustment straps or combs that you can use to stay in your hair, and so you have to use a tape, which is a lot like extension glue, in order to tape it down to your scalp so that it will hold in place and have a flawless edge so that it's not sticking out and obvious. Aside from that, the other big thing is lace fronts are a lot more expensive depending on where you look. There are some places that I tend to get my wigs. This current one's actually just from Amazon, but I am actually pretty impressed with it. This pink one here is from Arta Wigs, and it was a gift from my friend Clay, and it was my birthday present from him for a couple years ago. And then The other ones that I get are often from hairsisters.com or similar sites like that, where they make a lot of lace wigs for a really reasonable price. I've been able to get ones for between 20 and 30, which is actually pretty cheap for a lace front, all things considered. And for my other wigs, such as the half blue and half green one that I wore in my photo shoot for kitten sightings, that one is from, I believe it's hairsupplier.com, and they do take a long time to ship, but the prices are phenomenal comparatively, like way cheap comparatively. I've seen that same wig for about $25–30, and I was able to get it for about $9. So that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind, is if you're willing to wait for them. Other important things to know are wig caps. When it comes to wig caps, there have different colored ones, but often I go with either black or skin tone, and a lot of that depends on my skin tone, as well as the color of the wefts, the sewing. This one specifically has black sewn wefts, which means they blend in great over here, but they do stand out on the blonde side. So having the black underneath simply kind of makes the wefts less noticeable, and so it actually just seems more like you have darker roots, and that's super helpful. Having a skin tone one is really good for if you're wearing like a lace front, and so you can help it blend in more if the lace goes into your hairline. I have kind of dark hair, and so it becomes a little obvious when my hair color shows through the lace, so having one of those is really helpful. Thickness isn't as big of a deal if you have a wig cap that's going to help cover a lot of that, but if you don't want to have to wear a wig cap at all, I would definitely say go with something along the lines of the Arta wigs that are very thick, and you'll have almost no problem with wefts being visible. I mean, let me kind of show you how hard it is to see the wefts even when I'm trying, because you kind of see it. It's so thick that your actual hair color probably won't show through even in the event of wind or something. Biggest problem really you're going to have when it comes to wigs that aren't full lace or specifically designed for updos is that updos are hard to do, because your hair isn't going to part the same way, and there's wefts that'll be visible. There are ways to work around it, and if you know anything about trying to hide extensions when you're putting your hair up, like let's say you have glue in ones or tape in, and you can't just unclip them and clip them the way you need to, there are tricks of blending higher layers so that they kind of cover that, but it is a bit of a struggle sometimes. So I would definitely advise that if you intend to do updos, either go with a wig that's already pre-styled that way, or invest in the time and effort really that it takes to sit down and layer a wig properly, so that you can avoid having too thin of layers, but you have enough layers to help kind of hide it, with it being a realistic reason that it's not a full straight part. Because when you have layers, often they won't fit into like pigtails. Those shorter layers won't fit, so you can use those and bobby pin them back, and so then they'll stay in place, and it will look like simply you were just bobby pinning layers down. You have to be okay with the fact that you're wearing a wig. I know a lot of people wear them for just cosplay, which is completely cool. I personally wear mine for pretty much everyday use, and I prefer to make sure that it looks as realistic as possible for me, but I'm also a super huge perfectionist, so I'm super aware of any flaws or anything. And like with this one, if you know what to look for, you can tell there's no part. This is where the center is, and then that's it. And so, while it might not be obvious to a lot of other people, it is to me, but I also have to come to terms with the fact if somebody asks if I'm wearing a wig, I have to just be cool with saying yeah, because there's really nothing wrong with it. I mean, wigs are super versatile, they're a lot of fun to wear, you can change your look way quicker than dyeing it, and while I do really miss dyeing my hair a lot of the time, I can go from wearing a bright pink wig to that pastel wig to a half and half wig. I can change that without having to worry about if my hair can keep up with it, or shelling out the amount of money that it takes for me to either get it professionally done or to dye it all myself and bleach it myself. So it's definitely a really good alternative for a lot of that stuff. That's pretty much all I have for today. If you guys have any other questions, just let me know in the comments down below. I have all of my social media in the description, so if you guys want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I would absolutely love that. I'm a bit more regularly active there, and I would love it if you had questions or anything, you guys can ask me there too if that's easier. So other than that, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys on next week, alright? Bye everybody.